Another example would be the communist plan economics. Yes, the communists had a plan for their economy. For example, Stalin had a plan. Okay, Marx said that we have to establish an ideal state. So what we have to do is to work towards this ideal state step by step. So we have 4 years of development. The government plans exactly what needs to be produced. And then another 4 years where the government plans exactly what needs to be produced. But this led to problems because there was a problem within harvesting. So there was not enough grain. So there was starvation and poverty and people were getting very hungry. But they needed to keep up the plan economy, because if the plan economy failed, that means the utopia state would fail. So Stalin just sold more grain to foreign countries to make up for this loss. So he just sold more grain to foreign countries to gain more income and gain more money, even though the population was starving. And he said, okay, people starve, but it really doesn't matter, because maybe it's today people starve, but that's okay, because in the future there's going to be an ideal state that everyone's going to be happy in that state. So today we must suffer so that in the far future everyone can be happy. That was his idea. So you see that this utopian idea of utopian social engineering was used to legitimize the suffering of people. And it can also be, this analogy can also be drawn to, for example, National Socialist Germany. They could say, okay, now Hitler said we have to exterminate the Jewish race. And okay, well, today people won't be happy by doing this. I know people won't be happy by doing this, but it's just necessary to exterminate the race so that in 100 years the whole world will be happy, and all other races, it will be better for all other races if we exterminate this one race. So for the future it's the best. I know today it's a gruesome reality, but for the future it's the best if we do it anyway. And so we see that in China, in Germany, in Russia, that some sort of ideal in the far future was used to do the most horrific methods in the here and now. And millions of people died. It's important to know that even more people died in China and Russia than died in Germany from the Holocaust. So this idea of social utopian engineering led to slaughter of millions. It led to the unnecessary death of millions of innocent people. An important saying of Mao is, he said, oh, a Chinese industrial labor, he can simply sleep next to the machine. So that's what he's saying, that an industrial Chinese labor could simply sleep next to the machine, could sleep in the factory, and he could in this devote himself 100% to the improvement of the Chinese economy. A saying of Stalin is, one death is a tragedy, but 1 million deaths is a statistic. So what they try to do is to legitimize the suffering of people in the here and now in name of a utopian ideal that was somewhere far ahead in the distant future. Now, Karl Popper said that these measures were so radical that they could not bring the ideal closer, and that a faraway ideal could never justify drastical measures. Popper said, the attempt to establish heaven on earth always brings forth the hell on earth. And this is because you can never appease everyone. You can never make everyone happy, and this is bound to stir up some resistance. And even a slight amount of resistance has to be suppressed, or it has to be subdued, and that single bit of resistance, you have to use some energy and some effort to suppress it, and this energy and this effort goes at the expense of the energy of effort that you can use towards establishing your ideal. Okay. So Karl Popper says utopians such as National Socialism and Communism, these utopian ideals, we must do away with them. Because these ideas, they create radical plans that make life unbearable. And he says, we must only do measures that make life a little better in the here and now. So, this is an attitude that most politicians have adopted in our age. For example, Wouter Bos. He's the Ministry of Finance. Yes, he said about the finance of our country. He said, well, I don't do any ideology because that's the world is too complicated for. Yes, he said, I do not deal in ideology because the world is too complicated for ideologies, and I simply want to make life a little better in the here and now so that people can be a little bit happier. That's what he said. And many people say these kind of things. Just listen to politicians. They're all full of statements like this. They say things like, well, I'm not an idealist, I'm a realist. Or they say things like, well, we should simply try to make the world a little better, and we should not care too much about ideology or politics. I don't want to do too much politics, I just want to make the world a bit better. And statements like those, and they're all really superficial statements. But politicians are full of those, so they all accept this Popper idea of step-by-step piecemeal social engineering. Yes? You no longer have an architect that draws a map with a distant ideal, but you have an architect that draws up a map with a goal in the here and now. And Popper says, well, a step-by-step architect, a designer can be an official, can be an architect. He arranges society, and he must make amends, and he must make improvements in the here and now, and he must not be aimed to some sort of heilstaat, to some sort of realm of utopian freedom in the far future. That's what Popper said. And a plan in the future often justifies drastical measures. Utopian social engineering, well, we had these examples like the Sovkhozen, the Great Leap Forward, Mao, we had all these examples. Now, he says, we need step-by-step social engineering, we need trial and error. Piecemeal social engineering asks the question, what can I do to make the world a little better in the here and now without needing an ideal or utopia? How can I do day-to-day improvement? And this reflects logical positivism. The idea that we can bring progress and scientific improvement without doing ethics or politics. But this led to a problem, because Karl Popper was not the only philosopher who fled from Germany or Austria because of his Jewish background. There are many more. For example, Hannah Arendt. But another good example was Leo Strauss. And Leo Strauss, he wrote an essay, What is Political Philosophy? And Leo Strauss was always the first to express his ingratitude with the social sciences, or in his time, the political sciences. Strauss was very opposed to the political sciences, because he said, these political sciences, they send my students from door to door to interview people about their viewpoints on religion, about their viewpoints on ethics, and to write them down. And in doing this, they don't ask of the students to think about the real position on religion. They don't ask the students, what is the meaning of life? Or what is the best political order? Or what is a good life? How to live a good life? No, they were not supposed to think about that. They were only supposed to write down the positions that people had, to count the amount of positions, and to deal with these as facts. So Leo Strauss' objection was that political sciences was simply educating his students to deal with the opinions as they were, as the ruling opinion was inside people, and not to replace this opinion by certain knowledge. So Strauss said, no, that Wittgenstein idea that we cannot speak about ethics and all, no. He said, it's possible to speak about ethics. It's possible to speak about it. Sure, he said. He said we simply have to be careful when we speak about it. And he also said that the opinion about ethics or about political orders, he said that this opinion about it could be replaced by genuine knowledge. That's what Leo Strauss believed. And he had an argument to back it up. Because he says, and I read this from What is Political Philosophy, he said, all political action aims at either preservation or change. When desiring to preserve, we wish to prevent a change to the worse. When desiring to change, we wish to bring about something better. All political action is then guided by some thought of better and worse. But thought of better or worse implies thought of the good.